We have work that is made in New Zealand by New Zealanders. We have work that is made in New Zealand by Māori carvers. We have work that's made in China by Chinese carvers, sold in New Zealand. We have work made in Vietnam, which is made by Vietnamese out of non-New Zealand stone, sold in New Zealand. So within our industry, we have a lot of sort of, kind of false and misleading, I suppose, pieces. So when your typical tourist is looking at buying something, quite often they're looking at the items, and because the forms are based on Māori design anyway, or generic designs of Māori forms, that what they are thinking is they're thinking that they're getting something done by a New Zealand carver of Māori descent out of New Zealand jade. But in actual fact, they're getting a generic design that's being copied off a Māori design made in China out of British Columbian jade. And that does actually happen. That's what we have to compete with. So when our younger guys are coming through, that's what they have to compete with, because everything comes down to price point. If it takes you 5 hours to make something, you got $100 in labor, you've got $50 in material, you got $150 cost. By the time the retail space has to pay for their rent, their overheads, that piece is sitting out around about $350. When you're dealing with things that are important to cultural aspects, it's a little bit of a grey area, because basically jade carving has evolved and it's derived from Māori carving a material that was very special. So jade has always been the premier material for Māori for a long time, and it's only been, the commercialization of jade. Some people will say, well, why is something that's so important commercialized? In a way it is, but like I said before, it's that whole cycle of, before you didn't have to sell your work, you did your work and you were fed and you were housed. So whereas now you have to sell the work to do the same things that could have been done hundreds of years ago. So, and a lot of people will talk about, is it wrong to sell the work? Well, not really, because in a sense, commerce has always been around too. It's been around as long as Māori have made connections with, the Pākehā for the Europeans. They've always traded things that they wanted, and they've traded for things that they needed. So there was always trade going on, and trade is exactly the same as commerce. So really, these people around that will say, it's not about culturalizing, commercializing culture. It's more about culturalizing commerce. So it's using our culture to drive the commerce rather than the other way around. But what you find is when you get people making stuff in China, it's the other way around. It's using, culture to drive commerce. So trying to get things made that, are a little bit false and misleading. Māori jade carver will always carve from the Māori design and the Māori philosophies of those pieces to instill in today's modern context or modern society. So that hasn't changed. So the context of what you're carving, that hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is the time or the society. Other than that, it's the process is the same. You're still thinking about what you're doing. You're thinking about what the work represents, how you do it with the right integrity, how you do it to portray what you're trying to portray culturally correct.